Well, you know what? We got a great guest coming on. He's a tough,
Goat.
he's a tough, gritty guest. Does great work. Does need to grow up though, for being honest. But he is.
It's not that time to grow up. It's
he
about that
he
time.
he does. Hey, shout out to the Doc, the legend.
Doc.
You guys can check him out, Detroit Lions on Sports Illustrated. And of course, always brought to you guys by BetUS, our special guest every single Wednesday, John the Doc Maakaron. What's going on, Doc?
You guys are saying I'm grittier than Ryan Day. Lucas, how you feeling? You
Doc,
recovered?
Doc.
A couple days past that disastrous loss to Michigan. Probably feeling better than you are, right?
Yeah. The squirrel in my backyard getting ready to hibernate has more grit than Ryan Day does. You could name any person, any appliance, anything. It has more grit than Ryan Day. I cannot. You're gonna get me mad, Doc. We were about to talk about a potential Detroit Lions victory. Talking about that talk.
He's gonna have a whoa.
Hey, well,
Whoa.
That's if there's one word that I could describe Ryan Day with, it would be that.
I don't know why I've heard that word
That's
4
how you
times
know
in my
Klotz.
lifetime.
That's how
I
you
feel
know.
like that's a slur. Don't know why. It feels like a slur.
Hey, well,
Yeah,
Doc.
I mean,
Speaking of Ohio State,
I don't know what it
hey,
is.
hey, Klotzy, I know it's a tough week for Ohio State. Taylor Decker, the fellow, he had to wear that Michigan gear. Looked a little tight on him, Doc. A little tight, a little snuggy in that thing. But he is ruled out. DJ Reader ruled out. Josh Paschal ruled out. Levi Enrique ruled out. What do you make all these injuries, Doc? What's kind of from like the media perspective to feel the feeling for this type of game? The Packers are playing really well. Lions are still winning, finding ways to win. But what do you make of the injuries here? Big injuries.
Yeah, it's one of those deals where, again, another test for the Lions. And what's crazy about this football team is we're all, supposed to be reveling and enjoying an 11-1 team. But you look at it, the Eagles and the Vikings and keep winning, and the Packers are right behind the Lions as well. So everybody's like, man, 11-1 football team should have already potentially secured a number 1 seed. Can't happen because of the fact that the Eagles are neck and neck with the Lions. So everybody's sitting here looking and a little bit concerned about this football game because of the fact that the Lions are playing, 4 games in like 20 days or so. And everybody's wondering how the Lions have handled it, all the injuries. But look, I understand people that are panicking because any loss could have some significant value on the standings. But here's the deal. Yeah, you should be concerned because, naturally speaking, how many injuries realistically can a defense withstand? But there is, reason for optimism because, and this is something I've always said on the Detroit Sports Podcast, and I harken back, I don't want to use that bad P word, the Patriots. When Bill Belichick had things rolling smoothly, one of the things that he would do is when certain players got to the point where they wanted to get paid, he'd move on. Why? And I said this over time when I started the podcast 10 years ago. I said, what would be great if the Lions built a plug-and-play system where it was about the system and not so much about the players. And look, talent obviously is so important, but right now it's going to test that where, what? Aaron Glenn's defensive scheme is that good, and he's coaching that well that you got 4 guys that are going to come in and hopefully adapt to this system. If that's the case, now you're talking about the ability potentially to have sustained success where you can just plug in multiple players. And at this point, the Lions have won games. So everything that you guys have said has been so true. This game, and I think moving forward, the Lions have to count on that offense to really carry this team, and the defense just has to hold on. But they can make plays. They still have a lot of talent on defense. When you got Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph, Aleem McNeil, and Jack Campbell, that's a nice starting point. It's a little bit better than what a lot of teams will feature. Now you got a couple new guys that are going to come in and hopefully try and just injuries, are concerning over the next couple weeks because everybody wants that number 1 seed. Everybody wants to win the division. But at the same token, this football team has, basically built up a lot of credibility where even if they did lose this game to the Packers, there's still a lot of good things this football team can accomplish.
What's going on, guys? I'm here to tell you about the sponsor of today's video, and that is BetUS. If you head over to BetUS right now, you could check out the over-under for the Lions-Packers game right now, 51.5. I love it. I'm going to go ahead and lock my bet in, as you guys can too. I love the over. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. And if you guys want to tail it, go ahead. Now do it responsibly, bet responsibly, gamble responsibly. But you can head over to BetUS right now. They're offering $150 on your first deposit, and your second and third deposit, 125% up to $2,000. Use the code YouTube150 and get in on it now. Remember, gamble responsibly and never gamble anything you're not already willing to lose. Shout out to BetUS for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to the doc.
Yeah, hey Doc, I do want to bring that up. The whole thing here with the defense and being able to have systems that, like, everything that you brought up there, I think you're spot on. Just specifically the defense with AG, I talked about it earlier in the show. It feels like too, and I'm starting to get this feeling a little bit, even with all the injuries, it just feels like AG is putting down like plans together to where it's like no matter who we have, this thing's going to work defensively somehow, some way. Even if we're giving up 20 points, we're still going to find a way to get stops. Doc, you're one of the few guys not in the building who have had schematical talks with AG. We've heard it. We saw it on the YouTube. We saw it in an interview. What are your thoughts on this AG situation? Do you truly think, like, hey, he's going to be able to hold this ground above him, like hold this thing up with all these injuries until guys start to return in the playoffs?
Yeah, and what's been great about the NFL, and with more coaches leaving and doing media, Bill Belichick, and if you guys saw, I highly recommend watching Hard Knocks with the AFC.
It was
North.
unbelievable.
It was spectacular. A lot of insightful information and coaching from some of the greats, including Mike Tomlin. But it must see listen to Bill Belichick on McAfee every single week because he spits so much knowledge. And it's so true because you can see a little bit of what coaching entails. And for this football team this week, Aaron Glenn has to come up with 2 or 3 talking points to make sure that this defense accomplishes. And clearly one of them is work on containing Josh Jacobs. Okay, limit the explosives, and probably it's going to be pressuring Jordan Love and hopefully getting those 1 or 2 turnovers. First and foremost with this defense, I think they're going to probably, with Adams and Williams and, Ali McNeil, Brodric Martin, and you got the linebackers, you got a plethora of guys you're going to have in a rotation. Aaron Glenn's going to have to, draw up some maybe different plans than he's used to. But I think that with Aaron Glenn and the experience that he has, I think that there's opportunities to take some risk, pressure Jordan Love, stack the box, make it so that Jacobs has to earn every single yard. No, don't let him get into the second level. I do think I have confidence. I think that when, this is good because when everybody starts talking about, the Lions can't win, I think the players recognize, man, let's go out there and show them again. And when Dan Campbell said to the media, if you pay attention this week to his media sessions, he said, this is great. For the Vikings and Eagles to keep winning, it also keeps his team sharp, knowing that, okay, we can't take a game off. We have to be locked in, make sure that we follow the game plan to a T. And I just think that we can now say comfortably a little bit more until we see issues pop up in a game where it ends up in a loss. If the Lions play Detroit Lions football, tackle, make plays, handle, put the players in the right position to succeed, you got to give this football team the benefit of the doubt to be able to go out there and compete and make plays. And I think the Lions will do that. Especially the benefit is you're playing a Packers team that you already know. You know them pretty much intently what they're going to try and do.
And Doc, kind of continuing that conversation on the defensive side of the ball, and the guy who has been stepping up, definitely a name that Detroit Lions fans are not familiar with going into the season, but and I hope I say it right, Al-Quadin Muhammad, AQM. He's been stepping up the last couple of weeks. When his number's been called, it seems like he's either getting to the quarterback, putting pressure, making a difference. What has your takeaways been with him the last couple of weeks, and what do you think he's going to contribute this week against the Packers?
Yeah, check it out. Lions on SI. Christian also did a nice film review to see the speed and burst that he's able to possess. Number 69, been a nice addition to this football team. He's somebody that's taking advantage of an opportunity. Dan Campbell speaks very highly of him, somebody that makes plays, tries to rush the passer around the football. And look, I like the opportunities that this linebackers and some of these backups have to make plays. And I think that 69's taking advantage of his opportunity. I think that what he does is, I think he's got the ability to recognize how to shoot into the gaps properly. I think that he's getting better in coverage, getting better at being part of the solution to stop the run. He just does everything okay. And that's a solid piece that you can expect. This week, I think that, I'm very curious to see how the 4 new guys are going to fit in as well. I'm like everybody, what everybody wants to kind of see is how are they going to rotate in? I do probably believe, like you guys as well, Brodric Martin will take over for DJ Reader a little bit. We'll get a chance to see him. You'll see Adams and Jonah Williams get in some rotations as well. And now you have an opportunity with Mohammed as well to pressure the quarterback. So I expect him to be around that football and to be definitely stout when he has his opportunities to stop the run. And that's all you can ask for is, and that's what I think Dan Campbell and Aaron Glenn do a good job of, is they recognize what these players do well. They recognize, hey, if this player can recognize the run and he can get into the gaps pretty quickly, or he can, maintain, good leverage or good positioning and coverage, then they put those guys in the right spot. But everybody wants to see, what does Quan Alexander have left? What does, what do these players that have been brought in, what do they have? What does Jamal Adams still have? I think everybody's a little bit nervous about Jamal Adams because he's got that injury history. It was asked to him directly, like, hey, what do you got left? You've been dealing with a lot of injuries. But, him at linebacker as well, playing with Jack Campbell and Nowaski, it's going to be interesting to see the rotation and how the playing time and snap percentage of the 4 new guys as well. But Mohammed's taking advantage of his opportunity. And I do think that the blessing is that, Brad Holmes did shopping. And now that this next wave of defenders, what an opportunity for Aaron Glenn to not only showcase what a great coach he is, but if you have a whole new set of guys with all these guys on IR and dealing with injuries, and you still have success defensively, man. But I am a little concerned, like everybody else, the Bears were able to kind of unlock some things in that second half.
Yeah, well, well said, John. I want to ask you, one of the players that I am excited to see what he can show. And we talked about it earlier, and he's coming off IR. We discussed it before you joined, and we all kind of came to an agreement, which we want to give him time to get healthy, but at the same time, this is a player the Lions traded up to get in Brodric Martin. What is the doc, the podcast legend? Give me your thoughts. What do you expect? What's a fair expectation out of Brodric Martin? So that way we're not overreacting, but at the same time, I think it's fair for people to expect some flashes out of a guy you traded up to get in the 3rd round.
And don't tell people how to think, Jeff.
Yeah, no, it's tough. It's tough. It's tough because, this second year was supposed to be kind of more of an opportunity for him to play more and to spell DJ Reader, but Reader's played such an unbelievable brand of football. Look what he did last week. So this week, it goes to show you that, remember, typically players after games when they're hurt, they're always going to tell reporters, yeah, I'm going to play, but after the adrenaline wears off, what's the biggest key? And it's simple. Every single practice, they report who's in and who's out. Typically, guys that don't practice, the first couple days typically are going to be doubtful. Okay. So remember, players are always going to tell the media, yeah, I'm in. Very rarely do they say, no, I'm out, man. I don't think in my 5 years in the locker room had someone just, when we ask them, are you good? They're like, yeah, I'm good. I'm good. They always say that. So pay attention, because Reader did say, I'm good after the game against the Bears, but now he's out. So it's a big loss, man. Reader was shining. He was, man, what an addition to the team. Now Brodric Martin has his chance. And first and foremost, you got to stop the run. You got to be responsible. You can't get blown up by your opponents. You clearly can't get pushed backwards. And the job of a defensive lineman is to get your ass into the backfield. And so you got to win the battles. So what I'm looking for, look, my expectations are lower. I expect Jacobs to kind of get, average around 3-4 yards a carry, at first, and then the Lions will settle in. But I do expect that Brodric Martin will, find avenues to work his best to stop the run, to, get into the gaps properly, to make sure he doesn't get sealed off, to make sure that he recognizes where he needs to be at the right time, maintain good pad level footwork, and just make sure that you belong out there and you can excel. But here's the blessing. When you have Aleem McNeil next to you, maybe Aleem will draw some more attention. And the one thing that is underrated in Brodric Martin's game is his pass rush. So clearly he's a big body and can clog up the middle. But I want to see maybe potentially him kind of shed some blocks a little bit and get into the backfield. Chase Jordan Love a little bit. Maybe not get there, but kind of be in the way. Maybe get your hands up, bat some balls down, do a little bit to impact the game. But yeah, like everybody else, it's tough because we haven't seen it yet this year. So just as many impactful plays as you can make, get out there and help this football team limit the Packers, and especially in the red zone. If you can do as much as you can to have the success that this football team has had, not giving up touchdowns, then it'll be a good day. But I'm curious, like everybody else, how many snaps does he get? How does he look? How does he grade out? Look, you got to credit Terrell Williams. He's been a great coach. And I do think that the work that Martin's done will serve him right. But there's going to be some mistakes. There'll be some times he gets blocked out of the way. There'll be some things that, but any mistake that's made is a good learning opportunity for him, especially this year.
Hey, Doc, one thing that's been kind of going around Lions Twitter and Lions world over the last 24 hours is Xavier McKinney making the comments about Amon-Ra St. Brown, just saying, hey, he's not worried about him. And then today, St. Brown kind of has his response saying, hey, if I'm being honest, I'm really not worried about him either. And he was like, just show up like Thursday, essentially, like watch the show. What are your thoughts on some of these players? Like you saw Jordan Lewis do it with St. Brown. You've seen, Xavier McKinney do it the last time around this Lions team came through into Lambeau. What are your thoughts on teams calling this Lions team out? It seems like it doesn't work out for these guys, but they just keep doing it. What are your thoughts on that?
Right? Ultra competitive, right? Well, yeah. Clearly this started, when Amon-Ra St. Brown rolls up into Lambeau with a Green Bay Sucks hoodie. So you look at it, and Xavier McKinney last time was talking about the Lions being dirty and not appreciating the Lions rolling up points. And look what that did, right? So the question was, it was asked by the Packers on SI writer Bill Huber. He's a great mentor of mine, somebody that's super wise, has been covering the Packers. And he said, hey, do you care about what Amon-Ra is going to wear, or that? Do you care about the hoodie? Do you care about the messaging that he could present again? And McKinney's like, listen, man, we're not worried about him. We're not focused on that. And look, these guys are confident that these athletes, they typically are not going to, sometimes they do give a lot of praise and things like that. But the Packers are coming in, from what I'm hearing, really looking to, get the taste out of their mouth from what happened at home, because they were embarrassed. They didn't play well at home. Their toughness was questioned. And many people felt like, hey, you were the home team and you looked worse playing in the elements than the Lions. So the Packers are coming in serious. They're coming in ready to showcase that they can do some things. And for Xavier McKinney, he's very confident that he can do some things. But, if you're a player of his caliber, you have the right to say those things. But when you're talking about St. Brown, you have to put respect on his name, because any motivation additionally that he gets, forget about it. It's another 50 yards of production. So I expect Amon-Ra to do a lot of things, but I don't think he needs Xavier McKinney to put up bulletin board material to get motivated. I think Amon-Ra is self-motivated, and he's going to be the catalyst for this offense. And that's what's great about competitors, is that even when they get success, they just want more. They don't want to. And what's crazy is that being around the Lions, even that they're 11-1, you can tell that they're a serious bunch. They have their fun, but it's all business. Its number one goal is to win the division, get to the postseason, and have big success. And Amon-Ra knows that beating the Packers is a big deal. And so the emphasis that's placed on playing at your highest level in prime time, man, look out, Amon-Ra St. Brown. If you got him in fantasy as you're approaching the playoffs, make sure that, Amon-Ra St. Brown, man, better be highlighted on your team. I should have drafted him this year. I should have found a way to get him, especially in PPR leagues. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to put up some numbers this week.
He's a killer. Hey, just follow up real quick with that, Doc. Tucker Kraft, like the same thing, basically talking about Kirby. It's like these players. I tweeted it out. Felt like me and you have had this conversation before, Doc. Felt like a bounty gate situation. I don't know. Maybe the league needs to investigate. I tagged the NFLPA. There's something going on there. Do we have a investigation that needs to be had here with Tucker Kraft?
Yeah, I saw, and I listened to. I really enjoyed the Packers writer that you had on yesterday. Real fun, down to earth, knows his stuff. Look, these athletes, when they talk to the media, they look. Kirby Joseph is a guy that I think everybody can relate to that's a hockey fan, is like the Chris Chelios of the Lions. You hate to play against him, but you love him when he's on your team.
Right.
And for what he's done to other players, he's kind of getting a reputation. But look, the best thing about a guy like Kerby Joseph is when players call you out and say, hey, I'm looking forward to playing against you, he's earned the respect of everybody in the league because of his interceptions, because of his physicality. And look, what are you going to say when this week Dan Campbell comes out and saying on Amon-Ra's podcast, and he's like, Dan told the officials, if Caleb Williams is tiptoeing on that sideline, we're going to hit him. Like, we're not messing around with these guys trying to secure extra yards. We're going to hit him. And then Jack Campbell had that hit. And so the Lions, I do think that, are a football team that put out publicly, we're going to be aggressive, we're going to hit. And that's exactly what Kerby Joseph does. And I just love it. Like, I think everybody in town loves the fact that this is a violent, aggressive defense that likes to hit. Now you just got to do it within the confines of the rules. Don't take penalties. Make sure you don't launch with your head. No helmet-to-helmet contact. Good luck trying to navigate not getting at the knees or anything like that. We don't want no Trevor Lawrence situations caused by the Lions. But doesn't it have to feel pretty soon? Maybe even Thursday night. Maybe the Lions are going to cause a fight. After watching college football and all the flag planting, maybe one of those hits, maybe the tight end, maybe Xavier McKinney and Amon-Ra St. Brown. There could be some chirping in this contest. And with the way the Lions play, I'm pretty sure a fight's coming over the next 5 days. Someone's going to be like, we're tired of all this, and let's go and throw down. So let's see what happens. Let's see if the Lions can maintain their discipline, or do opponents get pissed off at the Lions and the way they play and get some extra physicality in. Because, look, you saw Tyreek Stevenson try a little slick move there, trying to trip Jamison Williams. When you're one of the big bad teams in the league, one way to get back at them is some cheap shots if you're not going to win on the scoreboard. So let's be careful. Let's make sure you're disciplined. But listen, when you have a player like Kerby Joseph, you relish to watch him do his thing. But yeah, he definitely annoys the opponents. And that's a good psychological advantage to get under the skin of your opponent, no doubt. And I think that Kerby has got that going so far early in his career.
Doc, you just brought up JMO with the Tyreek Stevenson thing, and that's where I was exactly where I was going to go. We're talking about Amon-Ra St. Brown, the difference he could have in this game, but a guy who was not lined up for the Detroit Lions when they met originally earlier this year with the Packers is JMO. Obviously, due to the suspension, no Jair Alexander, no Corey Ballantyne. What do you think the impact that Jamison Williams could have in this game that he was not able to last time the Packers and Lions met off?
Yeah, the one thing you always want to see is clearly, like you guys were talking about, you want the Lions to have long drives and run the football. Part of the benefit of being able to run the football is it opens up some play action too. So if you're able to run the football and give the Packers defense a little bit more to think about, now you can go to JMO inside and go over the top, over the middle, use them. And I just think that having an explosive weapon like that opens things up for guys like Laporta, opens things up for St. Brown, opens things up for the two running backs. So I say, just like everybody else, you feed JMO early too. You feed JMO, St. Brown. You got 4 weapons, feed them early, and then you just take advantage of the strengths. And you take deep shots. You have to throw it deep because the threat of the deep ball will definitely then make the secondary kind of question, do we play off? Do we play a little bit? Because if they're playing press man and they're if they're locking in on the pass and they don't respect the run, or they're not willing to give some cushion, then you hit them over the top and you make them pay. So any opportunity you can take a little bit of defenders out of the box for Gibbs and Montgomery, oh, that's great. And JMO does that. And also too, like I said, I love the way they've been using him over the middle. He's tough. When his route tree expands, my goodness, it's just one of those deals where as long as he keeps his head, stays out of trouble with the extra penalties and the fisticuffs and because I do think now when a Tyreek does that, others are going to try it too. One of the Packers defensive backs is going to get up in his face when he does a first down sign, or when he gets up and maybe a little helmet to helmet action, or a little bit of some comments his way to see if JMO pushes or shoves. So I do believe in division games, they can get a little bit rowdy, but for the Lions, Jameson's got to keep his head and make plays. But I kind of like, if you asked me last week, I said Sam Laporta might get into the end zone. I think clearly this week it's going to be a Montgomery game. that, he's always had success in this contest against the Packers, but I also think J-Mo might have some fun dancing in the end zone this week. Prime time, so that means J-Mo time in terms of having some fun and maybe busting one loose deep.
Well, Doc, speaking of weapons, there's a particular weapon that formerly was a Lion, Josh Reynolds, that got waived.
Oh, come on now.
I know you saw.
He already got picked up, by the way, just so you know.
Who picked him up?
The Jags.
Booner. I would have loved to have heard it so I could break it. Yeah,
that's on me. Doc, that's on me. I should have let him.
No, that would have been good.
He's with
Sorry,
a friend.
Jeff,
I was like, I don't want him to.
Guess who? What shitty luck for Josh Reynolds
to go to the Jags.
Claimed him. That was a bummer. And you know what that means, Jeff? That really is a bummer too. All the hard work starting in December. That was, I think, the last headline on Lions on SI was they waived safety Lauren Strickland, Josh Reynolds claimed by Jaguars. That's the last headline on the site of your guest. Jeff. So not only are you not in tune, you're not paying attention to the notifications, you're not reading Lions on SI diligently 10 times a day like you're supposed to be. You were going to ask old news question, but luckily your teammate Booner picked you up. Now,
what's insane, Doc? I have this up on my screen 24/7. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Oh, the glaze.
Good. Thank you.
24/7.
Thank you. That's what I'm talking about.
It says it right there.
The respect that I deserve. Listen, the respect that I give you guys. I saw the hostage video that Lucas did talking about, we don't need Josh Reynolds. We don't need all that. I respect Lucas's take on that. It kind of was, something that makes sense. But if he was available, you bring him in. Of course you bring him in. He's a security blanket. He's somebody that knows the offense, that can teach it more and more to Tim Patrick and Allen Robinson and everybody involved. So if he was available, I would have did it, but put him on the practice squad. But I can't believe the Jaguars were so desperate. They took his contract. And listen, for Josh Reynolds, you just got to stay out of the strip clubs. Keep your mind on football.
I forgot about
all
that.
And as long as you're focused, not getting, as athletes, I think you put yourself out there as a target, hanging out at strip clubs. I know Lions fans, if that happened on 8 Mile, would have been like, it's 8 Mile. I go to there all the time. Well, he got shot. Well, he only got grazed. He's okay. But he was out past midnight at a strip club with the doc. But listen, it happened. That'd be so great. Lions athlete caught out in the strip club. Reporter. What the hell is going on?
John Maakaron.
But listen, he got claimed. It's not going to happen. But I respect Lions fans like Lucas and a lot of people that said, look, they got Tim Patrick. They got a lot of weapons on offense. But I'm more like, what a great redemption story for Reynolds to see if he could have come back and atone for those drops in the NFC title game. But it's not going to happen. It was a great, 24-hour thought to debate a little bit, but it's not going to happen. Josh Reynolds is not going to be a Lion in 2024, potentially.
Well, can I ask you instead? That is my bad. I like to stay on top. I must have not seen it. That's on me. I do want to ask you about this 1 seed because we discussed it we've discussed it plenty of times this week. And moving forward now, the Eagles are red hot. The Lions are in the mix. They're still favored to get the 1 seed. The Vikings seem to still win these close games. What do you make of now? Kind of the injuries, the 1 seed. I know the NFC North. I would still confidently take the Lions. But what do you make of how important it is to get that bye week for the Lions?
Yeah, it's no team in the NFL needs a bye week more than the Lions. It would benefit them tremendously. Maybe you get Anceloni back, JRM, Jalen Reeves-Maybin. So it would be spectacular if they were able to earn it. I don't want to go to Philly. I don't want to go to Philly in January. Hell no. But look, listen, here's the thing about the number 1 seed. The number one thing is important is the bye week. Clearly, you want to have as many games at Ford Field as possible. But the Lions have shown they're gritty and they can win a bunch of games on the road. So they have the makeup of a team that can do some things. But, just to rewind, just imagine, which is crazy to think about, this football team could have been, they could have went through if Aiden Hutchinson stayed healthy, if this team would have had the health that they had last year, they might have had this whole year and gone with 1 loss. if you really think about it, the way this team was built, they would have rolled everybody. They would have potentially gone through and won the rest of their games. Aiden Hutchinson, Defensive Player of the Year, Alex Anzalone, Derek Barnes. They would have won the Super Bowl probably by 2 touchdowns, and it would have been like a coronation. And so you think about it and you say, man, these injuries have made it so that it's a little bit more challenging. It's kind of brought them back down a little bit in terms of, where they are compared to other teams. But first things first, you got to beat the Packers, and then you got the heavyweight matchup with the Bills. If they lose the number 1 seed, I do think more and more people will panic and they will have more doubts. But in the end, this football team thrives off of that. They love the fact that people will doubt them, that they don't think that this offense can step it up. This offense, I think, if they kick it into gear with the sheer talent that they have on offense, if you look at it top to bottom, if they kick it into gear and are able to execute, there's no 2 better running backs as a tandem. You got St. Brown and J-Mo that can play off each other and do well. Laporta gets healthier every week, will get more involved. You got the quarterback in Jared Goff. If Taylor Decker gets it back in gear and gets healthy, you got a starting offensive line. So to me, it's important to be the number 1 seed, but I'm not as panicked that they're going to, I'm not as panicked that they can't get to they can't make a run in the postseason. I would have concern, if there's more of these injuries and Reader and these more of the veterans have more things pop up near the postseason, I would be concerned. But, right now I'm like everybody else that's kind of saying, you know what? It's very rare to have an 11-1 football team. I'm enjoying it. Yeah, the playoffs are coming. Yes, the seeding will be important. But right now, I'm enjoying having a football team that's got 11 wins out of their first 12 and has a realistic chance to do some things if they get healthy. So the blessing is to say, yeah, they have 18 guys on IR, but a couple could come back and some guys are getting some valuable lessons. And then you get some guys maybe that are motivated, by coming into the situation like a Quan Alexander and a Jamal Adams. And it's going to be fun to see, the motivation level that they bring to the table as well. So I know people are nervous, and more of the national media is bringing up, well, the defense has all these injuries. That means they're going to step down. But let's just look to the offense. Offense carry the load, and I think they're built to do it. And I'm excited to see if this offense can say, all right, it's our team now, and go out there and score 40 points for the rest of the season.
Hey, Doc, I've seen it in the chat a couple times. Some people asking, just like defensively with some of these guys that are getting brought in and coming back. Emmanuel Mosley is one of these guys that he had the situation last week, pregame, where he kind of got hurt a little bit again, so he wasn't able to go. Is he going to be a good to go, do you think, tomorrow? And do you think he's going to get a lot of snaps, especially with the way the injuries have been working? And even like further on that, like a guy like Jamal Adams, you might have mentioned it actually earlier in the show, but is like, what do you think, like snap count for some of these guys? Like, is it like full go for Emmanuel Mosley and like Jamal Adams coming in a couple days ago? Is it full go for some of these guys because of the injuries?
Yeah, Dan Campbell indicated that when he spoke. He said that all 4 new guys have a chance to play. But I think that the Lions have kind of showcased that when new guys come, they're going to put them in certain situations. So I think Quan Alexander, Jamal Adams, I probably would say 25 to 35% of defensive snaps. Emmanuel Mosley, because you look at the secondary starting with Mosley. I'm happy with Amik Robertson, Carlton Davis, and Terry Arnold. So you give spells at different spots. Maybe you give Emmanuel Mosley 15 to 20 snaps, get him acclimated, get him back going. It's tough because you do need them, but you have some depth there, in the secondary. Now, Quan Alexander and I think Jamal Adams might probably have a chance to get out there in certain spots situationally.
Okay.
If you ask me who's going to play more, I think Quan Alexander knows the system a little bit better, so that gives him probably the advantage to get out there. But I'm not seeing these guys, 1 week in off the street, just coming in and playing 50 defensive snaps. But, desperate times call for desperate measures. But I do think that you can still count on guys like Trevor Nowatzki and Mohammed, and you have David Long too, that also has a chance.
No, Doc.
He's an unsung hero, an unsung defensive player that Christian highlighted on our last Lone Wolves podcast. Somebody that also can get in the mix too. That's a vet and somebody that is going to want to showcase his skill set as well. So it's going to be fun to see this kind of, I'm excited to see. It's kind of like the vagabond defense of all the guys that have been cut and let go from other teams, all brought to the Lions. And it's all guys that I joked around on the podcast. I said, we wrote so many lists of free agents to bring, and we wrote Quan Alexander, Jamal Adams, so many times, and now they're finally on the Lions. So it's a fun time. So it'll be interesting. But are you guys scared that the Packers know the Lions plays and are going to just jump the Lions offense?
Oh,
yeah. What do you make of that, John?
Is that audible? Are you guys scared that Jahmyr let the cat out of the bag?
What? Because I've seen big outlets, John, talk about it. And I've seen, I've seen like McAfee talk about it, and all these outlets. Like some people are, more so not good, yada yada. Steve Smith said that, all this stuff, and then you hear Dan say, "It is what it is." What kind of you're in the building? I mean, what's your personal take and kind of the vibe you're getting from that whole situation? I've heard people say, "Could it be fake plays?"
Yeah. Well,
crazy. Yeah, I know.
Okay,
definitely.
I know one of you three read that I found the answer. So let's see if somebody knows. You can admit
Jahmyr Jefferson. You talked to Jahmyr Jefferson. Doc, I'm
Booner,
locked in with you, Doc.
Man.
I'm all over the Lions world.
I invested, which is interesting because I thought somebody else would investigate it, but we were all, I don't know if the others wanted to keep it hush hush. They didn't want to make it a deal, but I had some questions. So Jahmyr Gibbs has, a situation where he has a social media faux pas. He posts it, right? So a media member asks it directly. Hey, Jahmyr Gibbs posted this online. Do you think you got to kind of warn these guys to stop it? And Dan's like, what? And he was like shocked. And he's like, I don't like that. And he just walks off. So right away, based on Dan's reaction, we're all like, uh-oh, you narked on Jahmyr, but obviously in all seriousness, the thing that people gravitated toward is, whoa, how serious is this? You just put out a lot of information. So I started seeing it more and more on Saturday, what the photo was. So I'm like, well, I'm there Sunday. Let me go find Jahmyr Jefferson. He's actually, the fun part was everybody was like, that don't look like Jahmyr Gibbs. It was like, that was Jahmyr Jefferson in the photo, and the photo was taken by Jahmyr Gibbs. So I've talked to Jahmyr a couple times, and I just said, hey, you want to talk? And I asked him, is this a big deal? I had a couple people in the building tell me, some information, and combined with what I asked him, it's one of those deals where some of those calls will not be used. They'll be switched up. It's one of those deals where it's a nuisance more than a big deal. But for NFL teams, they don't want their codes, or they don't want stuff out there, period. So Jahmyr Gibbs will get talked to. It'll be swept under the rug. It'll be something where they don't do that stuff in meetings anymore, but it's not a big deal. Ben Johnson will switch it up pretty fast, pretty quickly, and the Lions can go about their business. But I did ask for fun, and I got a big smile, which was weird too, because it's fun because when people tell me, why'd you ask this and why'd you ask that? My assumption would be, based on my questions, that Dan Campbell would have been more lighthearted and been like, oh, just put it out there right away. He would have said that right away on Saturday or Sunday. And Ben Johnson would have been more serious when I said to him, so is Jared going to call out and shout out Khloe Kardashian this week? Ben Johnson's got a huge smile, and he's like, we'll see, maybe. And Dan was more stern. So to me, it's interesting because I would have thought differently, but you guys will always know if I have a question, I'm not going to be afraid to ask it. And if I have a thought about a question that someone asks, I'm not afraid to share what my thought was. I thought it was great that somebody brought it up. If I would have asked it, I wouldn't have said, hey, Jahmyr Gibbs posted it. I just would have said, hey, there's a photo circulating online of your guys' plays. And he would have said, oh, but by who? I said, I don't know who posted it, but it appeared to be online. It's being spread everywhere. So Dan handled it. But if you guys are noticing, pay attention over the next 5 days. Dan's looking a little bit more wore out, like a little more serious, a little more stern. Like when they asked him yesterday, hey, there's a lookalike contest with you involved. And he's like, really? People want to do that? He's kind of been a little bit more prickly and stern. So the long hours are getting to him. It's not as funny as he used to be, but it's December. Long hours will get to you, but his mood has kind of changed a little bit. I was this close to penning, like, is Dan Campbell too stressed? But I want to give it one more week with the 10 days off. Does he loosen up a bit? Because he hasn't been his normal jovial self. He's looking a little wore out there But can you blame him? They say that he's there all the time. So he's a warrior. And I don't blame him for being a little bit more prickly and giving me the no comment. He didn't even let me answer. He didn't even let me finish my question.
Yeah, no comment.
He's like, no comment. So I just said, I'm just going to finish it. And he's like, no comment. So I try, guys. But in the end, I don't think the impact of what Gibbs did is going to be a big deal. It's more of a discipline thing. Like, hey, you're not supposed to be shooting pictures in the meeting room. And I think he learned that lesson quickly. But, man, you guys are quick with the posting of the information that these guys have. I didn't even know about it until the reporter asked the question. So I'll ask you guys, should the reporter have asked? Because I don't think a lot. I mean, it was spread, but it blew up worldwide when it was asked. Should it have been asked?
I had two thoughts.
Because I thought that it got amplified to a degree where Sports Illustrated, ESPN, worldwide news, daily news in Europe starts to pick up something like that. Do you think it's worth it for something like that to be brought up? I always think, yeah, but it's one of those deals where in hindsight, it was there on the internet, but it blew up worldwide when it got highlighted. So it's an interesting debate. Do you think it should have been asked?
I said this. I don't mind that it was asked at all. What I was happy about, Doc, is that it did get brought to the attention by someone, because if obviously Dan had no clue about it. Like, they could have gone all week if no one brought it up. Like, it felt like this happened a couple days before, and like it finally got brought to his attention. I'm more concerned on how like their social team or whoever runs the behind the scenes stuff, checking the players' socials and keeping track of that, didn't realize that got posted. Or even, Doc, the fact that Jahmyr Gibbs, he obviously deleted it or took it down, that he didn't go, hey, like, fellas, like, I put this out there just so you know, on accident. It's got taken down. But like, I was a little more so on the side of, as a fan, like, thank God it got brought up so Dan was able to address it and they could switch the signs or the calls, because it felt like he had no clue, and they would have kept the calls the same calls, whatever they were, the protection calls, which that would have been a disaster, I think. So that was my side of it.
Yeah, and I'll say this for Auteur, it's when he says it's all about the clicks for Doc, somebody was reading it and somebody read that, so naturally the Jahmyr story as well. Yes, I have a big smile on my face. The first 4 days of this month have been rewarding, but it's not all about the clicks. It's all about curiosity. And I kind of do wish our other name of the site could have stayed, but we were not allowed to. The All Lions title really encapsulated. We cover everything from the drama to the facts, to the news, to the X's and O's. Everything regarding the Lions is open for business for Lions on SI. And guess why? It's not all TMZ. And it is a little bit disrespectful and factually ignorant, because we do film reviews, we do player Q&As, we do podcasts, we do stuff that we report on live from inside Allen Park, we do highlight videos, we do videos of the new players, we do interviews. So when you say it's all about the clicks, it's cute, it's fun, but in the end, the reason why these guys have me is because I do it all. It's not because if I only did clicks, period, you don't last for 6 years. Your bosses don't love you. You don't get retained. You don't get, and for the 60 seconds, I'll talk about myself. Back, I think I posted, you can follow it at Detroit Podcast. Back in May, 7 companies, when there was a little transition, there was a time these 32 NFL guys were heavily recruited. We could have not been with SI. We could have said, hey, we could have taken our talents to different companies, but we were loyal to SI because it's the best place to work. But 7 companies came knocking on my door, and they came with some amazing situations. And they didn't come to me because I'm a clickbait artist. They came because they saw the company doing well. But I'm loyal to the guy that brought me to the dance, that cultivated my skills, that kept me in the media, and that told me, hey, if you do X, Y, and Z, you'll have the best time covering sports. And I did X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D. And he's like, my goodness, you're an asset to the company. And that's the only person I'm trying to impress. And when your boss is impressed, you're in good spot. So like I said, you can keep saying it and I'll keep defending it, but that's not all I do is clickbait, because I would not be here. It's just not possible if you, and plus 2, you get booted off the internet if you do that. I hope you guys realize I'm honest, and I do it all. but entertainment's fun. So that story about Jamar and Jahmyr was fun. And I'm thankful that Jermar Jefferson gave me some insights to reveal the question that I had. The question was, how much of an impact would that reveal have? And bottom line's probably not too much. So I got to answer it, and that was pretty cool.
You thought Travis Hunter was dynamic. You haven't seen Doc. You haven't seen him out there yet.
He kind of is like the Don. He kind of is like the Don.
Don. Hey, but something that we talked about yesterday, Doc, that I want to get your opinion on, and it was a good conversation. Me and Boone kind of on the other sides, but I don't think it's extreme what he said. Do you consider tomorrow's game a must-win when you look at the schedule going forward and the standings in the NFC North and the NFC in general?
No. Look, every game is important. Seeding, playoffs, but I love the grit of this football team. I think that, but to me, I'm kind of looking at how they lose. If they get blown out, it's clearly not a good sign. If the defense falls apart, gives up a lot of points, if Jordan Love torches that defense, I'm not, going to be thrilled. But I expect a gritty, competitive game down to the wire. I predicted, Sharon, I think it's going to be an overtime game. I think this one can go into overtime. Coin toss to the Lions. They take the football down and win it. But this football team, I understand the unnerve that people have, the angst, but this football team is resilient. They could lose this football game, and I think that it would still be a week of good preparation for the Bills and good focus. It's 11-1, you'd be 11-2. A lot of things can happen over the course of 4 or 5 games. So this football team is going to get healthier. They're going to acclimate. They still have a strong offense, but clearly the number one thing is stay healthy. Make sure that you leave this football game without any more key injuries. And you hope that, but it is something too with the injuries. I asked Dan and he kind of gave the standard answer, but it is a little bit weird that all the injuries, majority of the significant ones, are on defense. Tackling hard, practicing, grinding against that offensive line. It has to be something that's there with the practice schedule, with the intensity, where you're hit with injuries, but across the board, pretty much is on defense, where Taylor Decker is the one that's been battling the most injuries on offense. So it's something there. I hope they figure it out. But this injury situation is crazy because we're all hoping it stops, but there's no guarantee. So that'll be one thing we all sit with bated breath with each play. Everybody stay healthy. But listen, Lions are a good football team. They'll rebound no matter what. And I'm not of the opinion they need a loss to motivate them, but they're a football team that when you can continue to grow and clean up things that you're not good at, that can only help you when you get to the postseason.
There you go, Doc. Well said. We appreciate you as always. Hey, don't be like me. All right. I don't read a lot. So it's not anything against Doc. I'm a video guy. I'm a new aged man. But when I do dabble,
dig yourself in a deeper hole, Joe.
No, let this one go.
Let that one go. You don't even listen. Here's the funny ass part. You don't even have to read the story. There's a video at the top of every single click that you give. There's a video of me in my face. Come on, Jeff. There's a video. Jeff is literally saying to me, I have not literally opened a story on your site and actually sat on
the page.
But
it's not you, Doc. I don't read much at all of online articles. I just don't.
Come on. This is let's just stop here.
I read Doc's Twitter. Twitter is key. Twitter's key for information.
Everyone in the chat should be clicking on the Doc's articles and reading it.
Absolutely. I'm just saying,
Jeff. I read. I read.
Except for Josh Reynolds.
Listen, you don't have to read. You don't have to read. You click the story and watch the video. You say, Jeff's like, I love videos. I love intel. I love videos of Dan Campbell and the players. That's when Jeff's literally he's saying he does all there. Videos, podcasts, multimedia. It is the reason I'm here talking to you guys weekly, is that the site is very much in line with what will give you information to ask relevant, good questions. Jeff?
No, the site's elite. I'm just saying. So it's not against. Don't think I'm not reading.
He goes there.
All right, site's elite.
He knows.
But trust me, the site is elite. You can check the data.
But God always gives me the challenge that I don't care that Booner reads it, Lucas, or all the people now. Next few months, when you have me, I'm just going to try my absolute darndest to have you reference something that you read on my site. So
it'd be like a
much as I love myself,
pop quiz. Yeah, like a pop quiz.
I have to earn JI's readership and earn that one click. I'm hyper focused on the one click. That's it. That's my goal. One pick.
I mean, there's pictures on Doc's site. Lots of pictures.
From now on, and earn Jeff's. So put down the Playboys, put down the Hustlers, and read
the Hustlers.
Jeff.
Jeff's
pop quiz. I actually like that. Pop quiz. I'll study. I got you.
Jeff
Don't worry about it.
for his life right now.
Hey,
Jeff thought he had the perfect avenue out, and I'm like, Jeff, you have no clue. I'm like,
no,
Boone, I feel like is like damn near every article, and I'm not every article, but if there's definitely something I'm interested in, you're where I go, Doc. Because
I'm on my phone all day, like every tweet,
like
every
the Lawrence
article.
Strickland stuff. Like, I'm sorry, I could give two shits. Like, I'm not gonna. But like when we talk about Jamal Adams signing and stuff like that, I go tap in.
Yep. Can I ask you guys this question? I mean, I have on Twitter, I have the Doc's notifications on. I have every Detroit sports reporter's notifications on. I have everyone. When Doc tweets, I get it. When anyone else tweets, I get it. I'm locked in. And then when Doc tweets, sometimes guess what, boys? It's an article and it's right there. It's the Doc. I'm locked in.
Notifications. I have those. But the articles.
Yeah, turn the Docs on. Turn the Docs
on. I got everyone in Detroit. I have the notifications on. I have the notifications on. Twitter, but that's on me, Doc. Pop quiz next week. You can
pop quiz.
40K.
No worries.
At
Detroit Podcast. Make sure you follow. Michigan State won the day. I'm gonna just proclaim they won recruiting. They did better than Michigan. And let's go, Michigan State. Hopefully, the guy, whoever it is that decided to go to Michigan State over Alabama. You made my day. I don't know anything about you, but I'm going to learn. And I'm just going to declare that Michigan State won recruiting. I have no idea who's coming and who's going, but Michigan State won recruiting, baby. 3 to 5 stars. All the guys came to state.
Hey, Doc, can we just get a score prediction from you for tomorrow?
Yeah, I think it's going to be 33-27, 2020. It's going to go 27-27 into overtime. Tails never fails. Lions get the ball, march down the field in overtime. Send everybody home thrilled and happy. And Jared Goff talking Whitworth, baby. 33-27, overtime win, baby. That's the Doc's prediction.
Hey, 33 is a weird football number, Doc.
Hey, I said 33-27
it's a weird
on another podcast. Booner called me into question.
It makes sense, though. The Doc,
no,
he broke it down. Goes to overtime. Touchdown wins it. You don't kick a field goal. 33. But for you, I was like, how do you get 33? You're like, I don't know.
Prediction.
You text me after and you're like, I don't know how to get to 33 either. You're like, I have no.
Okay.
6.
Boone, you didn't have to do him.
Yeah,
like
Boone.
Well, he was just trying to. All right,
maybe he's not a teammate, Doc. I don't know. Maybe he's not a teammate.
That was very fair because he was just trying to be like.
He just Jahmyr Gibbs.
He did.
He really did.
You were trying to make me look bad for going at you.
But I'll tell you this. When a number hits me, it's like a score prediction. You know what I mean, Doc? It
is a score prediction. That's what it is.
See, this guy.
Jeff can't catch it. I'm telling you, Jeff.
I know he's not a teammate, Doc. You are, Doc, and we love you. We'll see you next Wednesday. Appreciate it. Hey, by the way, BetUS, as always, we appreciate them. Sponsors every single week, every Doc interview. Hey, what's going on there? It's Jeff Iafrate. Appreciate you for finishing the video. You can check out one of the videos here suggested or show support by commenting, liking, and subscribing. And buy your merchandise, FisherCTSports.com.